Hello and welcome to the CIECAst. This is Fred Iantorno, Executive Director of CIECA. We have another great program for you today, the inventory record and the use of the free text field. Today's presenters are Ginny Weiland and Brian Tenley. Ginny is a longtime automotive recycler industry leader. She was the first woman president of the Automotive Recyclers Association, ARA. She is an international educator. And currently, she is Executive Director of the ARA Education Foundation. Ginny is founder and president of the ARA University. She's a business consultant. She was the first liaison from ARA to CIECA, a member of the CIECA Education Committee, and a chair of the Recycle Parts and Inventory Committee. Please welcome Ginny. Brian Tenley of Rydell Auto. He's the parts director. He deals with parts surplus. He works with the recyclers for the alternative parts. I want to thank you, Brian, for joining us too. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to Ginny and Brian.
Thank you very much, Fred. As we step this today, both myself and Brian, we serve on the Recycle Parts Inventory Committee, and one of the areas that we have been focusing with, along with CIECA, is the actual inventory record. Next slide, please, Fred. The inventory record really is, in today's industry, is the inventory management systems that are not standard for the inventory record. So because there's no standard that exists amongst the vendors, each of us has our own set of fields and our field lengths in the text field area. This makes it hard for us to have consistency in the recycler's data, and also makes it harder to transmit recycler data electronically. We are often, automotive recyclers, called out because of this, with our inventory not being clear as it flows through these different types of transmissions. So of recyclers, we attend at every time to identify and keep our inventory clean, but things are moving that fast. Thank you, Fred, for the next slide. The data scrubbing and the graphic there just kind of speaks to, in humor, what's going on. But while there are small, errors in certain problems with merging corrupt and erroneous data into multiple databases, the problem just grows and multiplies by the millions. And when we have what we call dirty data, and there's a problem there with that as we, as it multiplies, this becomes more and more it devaluates our inventory and makes it appear that it is not accurate. And so what we're looking at from the perspective of working with CIECA and working with automotive recyclers, their educational training areas, is to be aware that once you do business and you produce your inventory for the internet marketplace, everybody sees it. Everybody is looking at it. And so whatever you thought was just maybe a company message will now become a message about that particular part or part quality to the world. Brian, do you want to just speak to this?
Absolutely. The recycle part type is probably at the most important time in history for the OEs putting the moratoriums on the patent strategies, and the data integrity is extremely important. These insured are looking for a good quality repair, so it's really important at this point in time that all the part types are categorized properly so they do flow through their data systems in the proper way.
Thank you, Brian. So when we're talking data scrubbing, what is occurring right now, and it is, I believe most auto recyclers are aware of this, that are contributing their inventory to other platforms, but there is, in their relationship with their management system providers, the ability for them to scrub the data. Now, this is by no means a manipulative tool. It is basically that they are looking at and knowing that they're providing inventory to certain groups, that they want to make sure that there is a consistency and a clean flow to this. So this data scrubbing that goes on will, if you're one of those individuals who is not aware of this and whose data is, you're not checking your data to enter and entries accurately, will find themselves having more and more parts missing from being quoted out into the marketplace. Next slide, Fred. So the information included in procurement and inventory messages will be at the part level, and here in the graphic, terms to avoid. This is nothing new to the automotive recycling industry and to ARA. ARA, through committees of recyclers, has developed the actual what we have here, terms to avoid. It is part of the things that we use when we discuss the quality of how we're entering inventory. Now remember, in our industry, who's entering inventory can vary in title from a smaller operation where the owner is actually entering inventory to the mid-level size automotive recyclers where they have an inventory specialist, we call it. That's how we train for that. But sometimes the actual education process for the inventory personnel is never as clear, and sometimes there isn't enough training that goes on to make those individuals aware, and they may have skill sets in looking at the part and identifying the part, aligning it to the standards that we have, but they may not, as they're entering, understand the grading, understand the importance of how they're entering the particular part. Brian, would you like to add anything to this?
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Through some of our findings, we're finding, a recycler may, through promoting process of a dismantler, now he becomes the inventory guy, and he doesn't have the clear expectation of how the outside world is seeing the data that he's putting in. He's an excellent dismantler. He knows the inventory process. He knows how to, name the parts so they're, specific to the counter staff. But if he does make a wrong error in that particular field, that will get filtered completely off the estimate. And it's extremely important that the training process is at that level consistently.
Thank you, Brian. As the slide indicates, we have, there's a brief example. First off, we have the ABCs, or the grading protocol for recycled parts. This is something that the members of ARA have endorsed and developed, and it is what is recommended practice by ARA for defining the quality of a part. One of the areas that, as you see here, is using words like damaged or checked, okay. These are the kinds of words we're talking about that are, do not use them, because they're you're allowing for a subjective interpretation as opposed to just use the ABC grade, because that'll prevent that particular part with a word that says check or has been checked or is okay. That could very well be scrubbed out, and that part would, the image of dollars flying out the window, that's dollars flying out the window for recyclers and not having their parts exposed everywhere that they want them exposed for the ability to sell. And in the entry level, the next, no, that's fine, Fred, move forward. And this is a lot of wording, but this is the data points of the inventory and on the quote and sales messages. And what we included here, the committee went out and surveyed and asked for the help from our inventory management systems in fully understanding, what the free text field looks like in their system, how many characters, and then we also, it was a full survey, and what I have here is one of the companies, it was Hollander, did fully respond to the survey and input with, obviously, with some good messages, and give us a better understanding of, as we step this and look at the free text and look at it being more structured or diminishing the free text and having more options for just direct connect, these were the kinds of things we wanted to hear from. So as you look through this, and I'll just pick up a few, but you'll see that just the integration of this type of standardization is a welcome proposal, and we would incorporate it or modifying existing values in their product so our customers can take advantage of it. This was huge for us to hear, because again, CIECA does not, as they develop these, as does ARA, we put them out there. We do not say that, we cannot force the use of this. We welcome the acceptance and welcome the utilization, we never, on the CIECA side, I often will ask CIECA, we'll ask Fred, the CEO, or Charlie, and both will reply that we never know who's using our standards. We don't ask that. So, but here we're hearing directly from one of the major systems out there that says, yeah, we'll use it. You know, we welcome it. So that was great to hear, and we got pretty excited hearing that. And then, of course, we talk about the outbound data feed and the channels that it goes through. They reference their products where they're using it. So when these changes are accepted and have to be made, it's not turning on a switch. It just doesn't happen, you know, in an instant. It has to be identified by these the management system providers, and then they have to identify it through the many parts procurement programs they have. So that's what they're referencing here. And we went down, and I'll just drop down to the existing inventory data. And Hollander already says they have in their existing fields the ARA damage codes, the primary and secondary location. They also have the ARA or the now fully accepted CIECA codes for parts grading. So they have those in place already. So you can see that there is a relationship of hearing, you know, back and forth to make sure these standards do mirror. Brian, as you observed the surveys, was there anything that spoke to you particularly?
No, it was pretty evident that, you know, obviously the procurement side is becoming more electronic. So at the staff appraise or at the insurance level, when they're seeing these things come through, they have strict standards on their side what they're letting come through, and they have adopted the ARA, you know, damage code process. So, you know, the double standard in that free text field of, you know, a 1H1 for, you know, one hail unit, the location one, but the description behind it says hail dense. The word dense will filter that off of the estimate. So, you know, what they're saying is, you know, please stick by the standards of just saying what your inventory is by the ARA damage codes, and that stuff will filter on through. We did a study that showed one platform had 44 different vendors having the same part, and by the time we turned on all the filters that existed, only 2 parts you know, were able to be seen by the insured. So it's extremely important to use those codes.
Thanks for sharing that, Brian. That's huge. Next screen, please, Fred. This is just overall to give you an idea of the benefits of standard integration, or what the role CIECA is playing in a partnership with ARA, and what CIECA, you know, really is about is the integration. So, you know, we reduce the requirement effort, make it easier to implement, improve the delivery time for the customer solution. So this is what we're looking at. We can argue about, oh no, I want my text field, I want to be able to type this in, I use it for this, I use it for that. Are you talking about your internal management, or are you forgetting about the customer? Because that's where this is all driving to. You want to reach the customer and make the sale. So anything that we could do to deliver this message electronically and have the customer purchase recycled parts or increase purchase recycled parts, it's critical. Recently, in a report that was just launched by, well, Mitchell does their quarterly trends reports, and one of the things that struck me in the graphics they had is that recycled parts in utilization has dropped 9%. That's huge, and that's a major concern. And so, you know, we as an industry have to take a look at how we're delivering our inventory, how accurately, what are our, you know, what are our electronic messaging of our inventory, to not miss the opportunity of being placed, in particular, as Mitchell was looking at, on the estimate for purchase. So CIECA looks at the most cost-effective ways to do this. It provides a foundation for shared data and provides the infrastructure for future integration. What we're talking about, as I indicated just a moment ago, will not happen instantly. But if we don't look to today and to tomorrow particularly, we as an industry may find ourselves just caught in what is now moving so rapidly and a diminished exposure of recycled parts in the marketplace. So this is why we're working so diligently with CIECA. Next slide, please, Fred. And here again, just a reference to you know, what was this project about? What did we hope to reach through using CIECA in this platform? This recommendation to look at the text fields really came from the ARA Electronic Commerce Committee. Their chair at the time was Neil Niesenbaum, and he stepped this aggressively and wanted a larger platform of input, and then reached out, and together we felt that CIECA was the place to bring this. And so we applaud CIECA for taking this on, because sometimes in bringing projects forward, CIECA is open to this kind of thing, but they do have to get approval from their board, and we were happy when they did approve this. So we have this data, we have the concerns in multiple areas, that recycled parts be identified clearly, and that it looks at the whole world. So when it's not just about our internal management systems, it is about being on eBay, it is about being on our own websites, so a customer can directly look at what we have. It is about being on Car Dash Parts and the other platforms, Parts Trader, another platform that is aggressively defining and looking at recycled parts as they hit the marketplace. Their model has an insurance company saying, we want to use recycled parts at this amount, make it happen. So they have built a whole platform working with recyclers to address that and been aggressive. Brian, other examples of how recycled inventory is moving or not?
Yeah, everything, especially with all the recalls and whatnot, all the major insurers are finding shelter with these automated estimating platforms. They have the things built in that will protect the insured to ensure that they're getting a good quality recycled part. And again, with all the OEs and everything they're up to, and not letting the aftermarkets have the opportunity for some time, recycled parts are truly the only alternative for savings for some of these recycled. And you'll hear some of the major carriers say they're down 30 to 35% in their recycled usage, and it's not by their design. It's just the parts, once they flip the switch to become electronic, these parts aren't filtered into their estimating platforms, and they want these parts. So it's very, very important that things are done in the way that their systems are set up to be receiving those items.
Thank you, Brian. Next slide, please. One of the sources for some of the information that we're referencing, and this is pretty much at a-r-a.org, and I just brought you to that page under standards, and you'll see that under our ARA grading standards, codes, and protocols, we circled one here, and I really intended this to run a red line through the top one too, the ARA standard and code procedures brochure. This is available to anyone who goes on the site, and you can download it in a PDF. These are pretty much the expectations for recycled parts from the perspective of the seller, the buyer, and the estimator, and the management system. So if you want to get a sense of what each of these different types of procurements and their different focus, it's there. It also gives you the codes that we're referencing, the damage grid that we referenced, and the ABC grading procedures. So it's a good tool for doing that. We have a standalone look at the damage locator PDF, which is, again, it's an engineering metrics grid that takes a part like a fender and pretty much defines it in vertical and horizontal location lines, and that's where recyclers indicate the damage location. So they can hone in right there, and all of this is done by code, so it's important that inventory personnel are being trained about the codes, as well as those who are in procurement, the estimators. Critical that they understand the codes, and that the codes have consistency. And the one I circled at the bottom here is basically recycled parts definitions. This is particularly focused on assemblies, which is the strength of using recycled parts. We offer component assemblies. So a door, and what a door comes with is, it's not just the exterior shell, and often this can expedite repair, as opposed to the concept that it hinders repair, because in that you have the assembly ready to go on. It's just a prepping masking procedure for a collision repairer, and so we offer that, but we also clearly state in this, and this is now has been put on a website, ARA funded, and has this, and this website is arastandards.org, and in there it pretty much identifies by part type what comes with that assembly. so that, you know, each recycler is consistently quoting and on that particular standard. And this helps us when we're training the estimators and those procuring recycled parts in whatever medium, that, you know, a door does not come with a mirror. That is not part of what recyclers are pricing. Obviously, the economics of that speak for itself. The mirrors sometimes are worth more than the doors now with all of the sensors that are involved in it. So that we are now saying the door does include the following things. The door may optionally, on this, meaning that a recycler can take the option of doing whatever they, you know, this is free enterprise, so if a recycler aggressively wants to include something, that's optional, and they should state it as such, you know, in their defining of a relationship when quoting. And then there is those things that do not come with that particular part. So that is all spelled out there. Next slide, please, Fred. So as we look at the inventory, we have the inventory records, and this is many levels. We have the review of the procurement inquiry, and these are the actions that our committee and what has been accepted by CIECA in the larger. We have worked on these. We, the members of the committee, which does have representation from recyclers, insurance, and and those that are the technical minds from the respective management companies, and we have looked at the procurement inquiries and what type of messages are needed. Brian, anything that you'd like to add with your involvement with CIECA?
No, you hit all those points are very, very important. As things progress and as this industry gets tighter, every one of these points will be looked at even tighter. No question about it.
Thank you, Brian. Next slide, please. We just wanted to state that the committee meets every Tuesday weekly at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, and we really welcome the input of new individuals, recyclers. If there are any on the call, I encourage you to get involved if you can give them the time to step this way. It has many dynamics, as you see, that we're addressing. The text field, the free text field that we chose to look at is ever evolving. We have drilled down on the things and orders that we feel are important for that field to have more. In our perfect wish world, there would be drop downs for each of these things. What are we talking about? The code for paint color. We have the manufacturer's code. We have the generic ARA initials for identifying color. These kinds of things, if they could be automated into what we're now calling the free text field, because that's where they appear. And I know I've heard of examples from those that are looking at our free text that sometimes the codes for grading and other symbol codes get blended, and it gets confusing. And here comes that scrubbing we're talking about, or that filtering. They don't understand what we're trying to tell them, so what do? They don't call you up and say, what are you trying to tell me here? They just take your part. It's electronic. It's not it's electronic. And the computer program just says, and the algorithm says, take that part out of there. You know what happens to a recycler? They're wondering, why am I not selling parts? What is going, and pretty much feeling the weight and burden of it, of making decisions without fully understanding what's happening. I call it behind the curtain. Brian, other examples of those kinds of things happening? Do you have
Absolutely. As things compound, and we haven't seen compound yet. Today is just the insurance said we want these parts, and this is how we want to see them. The platforms are now saying this is how we're pulling them out of your guys' systems. But I always challenge the guys that we work with is look at your own data process like you would be trying to buy something, a Christmas present for your wife or husband on eBay or Amazon. You're always looking for something that tells you not to buy that. And the same thing that goes in that free text field. Bad paint, some of these different things that still make a very good quality part that the insurer would like to use in the completion of the process, but for some reason why you felt need to be put in there, it needs to be put in there, but that filters you completely off the estimate. So it's very crucial that you stick to the standards that the insurance companies are put in place. That's the only way they're going to receive the data. That's how the data has to be put into it.
Good point, Brian. Thank you. The other avenue is continued dialogue with your management system providers and all products that you're using to promote your inventory in the marketplace. It's often when I'm on these committee calls with these particular techs from the management systems, they'll say that we're not hearing any concern about this from our customers. That is the recyclers and those using these products, their software products. And I am often deeply disturbed when I hear that, because so you're hearing nothing. Because when I go to an ARA conference or get on another committee call where there's all recyclers on, I'm hearing the down and dirty of their frustrations with their system, or the frustrations with why isn't this in there? Why do I have to wait 6 months or a year for the next update when the marketplace is exploding right now? So I think they're open to hearing from their customers. I think they must hear from their customers. So make sure that your voice is heard if you're a recycler and looking at these things. Look carefully at the software and the software agreements that you have in place. Not in an alarming, yes, it's the fine print, click, I agree, I just want to sell parts to the world and I want to make money. It's basically to understand, how do you let me know if my inventory is being filtered to a certain percentage? I think that would be the best question every recycler should now be talking to their management systems about. We don't expect you to, notify us every time you filter something, but could you notify us if there's a threshold of more than 10% of my inventory being filtered out? I mean, this is a lot of money being lost. I, as an owner of a recycling facility or a manager, could make an asserted effort to know that we have to go in there and we have to clean this up. The other thing I'll emphasize is the utilization of training. I know there are times when, I hear it all the time from recyclers, I can't even find anybody and now you want me to train them. Or we're having someone who has done it before train the next person, but are we sure the person who has done it is doing it the best? If we had this communication from our management systems of that percentage that I reference, whatever it be, for filtered parts, don't you think you could go back then to your inventory person and say, this is what's happening to our parts? How can I as the owner help you to be trained to do this better? There is training. ARA offers the ARA University. It's arauniversity.org. And there's absolute produced modules, we call them, courses, that help you step through training for an inventory specialist, training for what comes with a part, the parts description guide that I referenced. And continually we are adding training focuses. Every management system provides training. They have extensive and have gone to greater lengths, because I hear from them too, that basically says, how do we reach the recyclers? They don't come to a conference. They may not attend their regional meeting. Some of the recyclers, Car-Part has gone on the road with regional training in this area and has worked very hard with marketing through to train on their not just the ins and outs of their platform, which is critical, but it's that, helping the recycler to reach the marketplace, to understand the larger marketplace. So, again, those recyclers that are on the call, reach out to your management system providers, see what trainings available. There is a lot online that can be done, like the ARA University, on, not interrupting your business, because I know that we don't have enough hours in the day to get it all done. But when you've got an online 24-hour training, you can synthesize an employee to go on in their time and and get this training, and and you can also make it part of their requirement of their reviews as employees for their for their performance, that that they are training. And I'm very familiar, obviously, and there's many other sources of training, so I'm not on here to just plug the ARA University. It's just what I live and breathe, that we have what we call a learning management software there, so it helps you to track. You can go in as a manager or an owner and click and see if an employee went in and trained, if they went in and stopped and came back, and then you'll see them completing it to certification with certificate. So this validates not only their role with your company as a skilled employee, it also is something you should let the world know as you are trying in a very competitive place to say that you are training your employees to a certified standard that is recognized in the industry. This is important because this, as Brian said, we all do it. We look at the reviews, we click, and if someone says it didn't work and there's 10 of those, we're not buying it. So we have to find out ways when they click and get to see these positive indications of the professionalism and the quality of a recycled part. Brian, is there more you'd like to add?
Yeah, I mean, the training, those are excellent points. Our businesses today, we're the legacy owners, or we're trying to run our businesses from the front. We're trying to drive our sales team. We're spending all of our time training our salespeople and our drivers truly at the inventory process. The insurance world has digested the ARA standards, or the standards in the industry, and that's truly where it needs to be. Complexity is going to be upon us probably within the next 2 years when we have even more adaptive parts, the aluminum repair, and then the crash avoidance pieces. Those damage codes are going to change dramatically, and it's important to understand them and know them today, because when crash avoidance hits, and just a key word or a key description is going to completely remove high dollar components that are going to be able to complete that investment of that car you purchased. So everything you said, Jenny, is extremely important.
Thank you, Brian. Next slide, Fred.
Okay.
I think you're going to take over there,
All
right?
right. Yes. Thank you, Jenny, and thank you, Brian, and thank you to our audience for participating. Please join us in our future CIECAcasts on June 21st. We'll be talking about the 2016 R1 release of the BMS, what's new in it. On July 19th, JSON, which is the JavaScript object notation for business people, so it'll be less technical. On October, actually we skip August, and September we have our conference, so we're on to October, where we'll be talking about inside each of the CIECA committees, what's going on, what's new, what's happened in the past 12 months. And we'll round off the year on November 15th with what's new in the second release of the BMS for 2016. I would also like to invite you and have you join us at our annual symposium, which will be in Indianapolis on September 12th through the 14th. We've got a great program that's for you, so please mark those in the calendar, and mid-month we'll be starting registration for it. ARA and CIECA have partnered in the developing of electronic communication standards for the industry. I want to encourage each one of you that are on this call and people that you know to join both of the organizations, and you can do so at CIECA.com or r-a.org. As usual, the video recording and the PDF of the slides of this presentation will be available on the CIECA website within 24 hours. Again, thank you for attending. Thank you to our great speakers, and everyone have a great day. Bye now.